Hey friends, so today we are going to talk about chemistry versus connecting through deeper values. So, when I think of that, when you go out on your first date, initially, especially in today's day, when there is always this swipe left, swipe right, it's the looks sometime where you may feel attracted towards the person, but you have to connect on a deeper level. If you think of it, in midlife, in this channel, what we cover is mostly where folks who had a long-term relationship and then you had a breakup, and after divorce, you feel like you have recovered and you are now ready for the dating journey. But the dating that you had back in 20s or whenever that was for you before you got married or you had this long-term relationship, if you go back with the same rules, they don't fully apply at this stage. Not only because of the age, but it is also that at this stage of our life, values also change because in your 20s, you're just a single person all by yourself. So the criteria or the values are different. Now, at this stage, you may have one kid, multiple kids, and you also have to think about values for them, how you are going to raise your child. All of that needs to happen. So if you just go on the surface level attraction because the person looks good and they look good on paper, meaning they have a good job, good degrees or whatnot, that may not align in the long term. And think of it how it worked out in your first marriage or if you were in a situation when you had 5 years relationship and then something happened and then, you are not together anymore. So you are not going to look at the rear view mirror, meaning the past relationship, to replicate it, but to learn from it, right? You want to learn from the prior relationship that what could have been different. Again, not what could have been different necessarily for the other person, but for you, because you cannot change that other person. That person is gone. That is your past. No matter how hard it is, you have to move beyond that. Even if you are not fully recovered yet, you have to move beyond that because in the future, you don't want to compare that person with the person you are with. But what you want to know is you want to know what are your deeper values are. You want to practice those by thinking, speaking, action. And I kept mentioning to you guys, these are the three things that I share actually: thinking, speaking, action, thinking, speaking, action. And I actually have printed it for myself. So I follow that myself every single day. And that is what made my recovery so much faster. This is a framework that I created from a long time study because you'd see that they talk about thinking, thinking, feeling, action, but my thought process is that you cannot control your feeling, can you? Now, if you think of something, even it's like it's so instant that your thinking and feeling just goes together. Only way to change it is by speaking differently. So I'll come back to this where I'm talking about, the chemistry. Chemistry is good because at some level, I know that okay, there is that connection that needs to happen. That two people kind of have to like each other enough that you want to move beyond the first date to the second date to the third. But ultimately, what matters is that you are connected on the deeper level. So, say if you go out on a first date and you have this instant chemistry. So, I have this for you guys to show the difference. So, instant chemistry is like, think of this. I'm not very good at, so I'm going to try my best. It's a spark, right? It's not long term. You have to, it's fun to see it because it's just, it's instant. However, for it to work, I have a candle here. Hopefully I don't make mess of things. So I'm going to show you guys. Okay, this is the candle. Okay, that's a big candle. This is what is when a relationship is built on a shared values that'll keep going for long, right? Because when you have shared values, it doesn't take additional effort. I didn't have to keep holding it for the spark to continue, for the chemistry to continue. This is what a long term relationship may look like. Okay, I don't want to burn the house down. I just wanted to use this for you guys to kind of get the difference when we talk about chemistry versus a long term relationship. Because when you think of it this again, in this long term relationship, it's the through the values, when it matches, you build this tower. And sometime when there is wind or something that may blow the candle, and in this case the, if you have fight or whatever, because there are shared values that will hold it tight. Think of it as like a tree trunk, right? So when there are wind blowing, if it is not strong, it's not going to stay put. But if the tree trunk is thick, you actually have a tree outside right there. You can see the trunk. It's like no matter what wind or whatever happens, it's gonna stay put, right? So that is what I'm talking about, values. Now, how are these values formed? A lot of time, the way we grow up from our family values, or sometime from the values changes too, with if you have very significant event happening in your life. So I will tell you, my values have changed when it comes to, this was a big value change, I would say, um, about the divorce. So divorce and separation was a big thing in my mind, because I come from a very small town in India, and I didn't even realize, even after living here in this country for 20 years, that I had that much impact. I had to get over the shame and guilt of divorce. And to me, I didn't really look down on anybody who had divorce, but for me personally, there was this deeply held belief, and values are, it's connected to that. When you have a deeply held belief, and when you think that, okay, this is wrong and this is right, it's just, and you hold on to that as your values. But then I realized through all this work and everything that I did, that, it's okay, we can let go. It's all about living a happy life, because if your cup is full, you will be able to make sure that your kids also have a happy life, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. So going back to 3 simple steps for you, I had to give you this detail so that you can refer what I really mean from that perspective. So thinking perspective. So when you go out on a date and have a person, let's say the person is super attractive and you really like that person, you want to go out on a date again, I need you to think in your mind that, okay, that's great. However, I have these deeper values that, the person with these values is going to be the person that I am going to go on a long-term relationship with. And you can kind of write down, it's just type it 1 sentence, whatever resonates with you. It all comes down to values. Just think from that perspective, that not just chemistry, but if my values matches, then I'm going to go on a long-term relationship with this person. So you kind of start thinking a little differently. And as you do that, and you can change that sentence, it doesn't have to be just one. And the reason I tell you to come up with that yourself, because we all have such a different path and different values, that if I tell you a certain thing, that may not fully resonate with you. So you come up with 1 sentence that makes you think, that makes you to shift from that spark to this a long-term relationship, to the candle. Because if you think of it, when you got together with your prior partner, there was this spark, right? And maybe there was some values matches too. However, over time you both grew, and then it didn't work anymore. So that's why it's important. You have to start your changes in your thinking, so that next time you don't pick a person based on just the spark, because you cannot change whoever is coming to your life. You can change yourself so that you pick the right person next time. And that is what we are trying to do here, right? It's all about changing ourselves. It's all about, out of this whole video, if you want to remember just one thing, is about, it is you yourself changing so that you pick the right person next time, right? And nobody's going to be perfect, but you want to go for the values, not the instant spark. Spark is good, but it doesn't last long. And think of your prior relationship, right? That's just an example. So as you start thinking that way, then you have to start speaking that way too. Speaking is just like an affirmation, and it doesn't have to be like you sit down 5 minutes, 10 minutes every day and you do affirmation. It doesn't have to be that hard. Affirmation, or the speaking, when you're talking to your friends, family, coworker, and I make it as simple as that. When you are interacting with people, say that you are looking to meet somebody who has shared values. And sometimes what happens is people will get you blind dates, right? Or your friend will connect with you, somebody who they know. And if you keep speaking that you're looking for somebody with shared values, then they will bring you the right people. And that's how manifestation works, right? Thinking, speaking, when it aligns. So you think what you're thinking, that aligns with your speaking, and then your actions also will start changing, because when you meet the right person, the way your body language and your expression, all of these are going to match that. All of these are going to match that. So you have to, when it comes to speaking, apart from talking to your family, friends, if you want to go one step further, you can always write down an affirmation saying that I am going to go with a person that whose values matches with mine, not just from the instant connection. Because a lot of time in this scenario, after divorce or after a long-term relationship, especially if you didn't have enough time to heal and you are just going for another relationship, it is very important that you are not just filling the void quickly, because if you do, then it's not going to last too long. Now, I'm not going to say that it'll take you 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. I think it's very different for everybody, and you will know when you are ready. But also at the same time, you have to make sure that you do this inner work, right? I definitely think it's at least, I don't know, 3 to 6 months. It cannot be before that. If you get with somebody before that, you have not worked on your healing. So that's the shortest time. It could be longer, but anyway. So, you know, you start thinking that way, values, not just the, spark. Start speaking that way, write an affirmation if you want to go further. And now the action. From the action perspective, what is important is write down your non-negotiables. So in your next relationship, you may have just 3 non-negotiables. You may have 5, but I won't say like have 10 non-negotiables. Then, it might be hard for the universe to bring somebody to you who matches all those 10 non-negotiables. So one of the things, especially if you have a kid, which could be very important when it comes to shared values, right? When you are meeting that other person, that their values for kids and your values for kids, and it somewhat matches, because sometimes it could be so that you have a kid, that person has a kid, and if your values, it doesn't have to be fully matching, because the parenting style and all of that is already different for everybody. But then there has to be some matching points, because otherwise you already had a you know challenges with your prior partner. And if you're already seeing this red flag, even if you have an instant connection, the sparks and everything, if you're still going, probably not a very good idea, right? So that is why you want to write at least 3 non-negotiable. And for me, I'll give you a real example. For me, one non-negotiable definitely would be my daughter, Alice. She's 9 years old. I don't know, whenever eventually I'm not looking for anybody yet, but whenever time comes, when I do, my non-negotiable would be that person, sees her as his own kid, and I'm gonna do the same if that person has a kid. But so these are like, these are very deeper values that you want to see matching, right? And a lot of time I also would talk about finances. Some people would say that, oh, love is everything. If you're near midlife, or you may not know. So I'm going to share with you one of the topmost reason of divorce is finances. Literally number one reason for divorces is finances. So it is important to talk about finances with that person. Now it may not matter for you that if somebody is earning this much, you're earning this much, or you are here, this person is here. As long as you talk about it and there is no problem before you get into this long-term relationship, it's okay. However, you need to talk about it. If you feel like you cannot talk about it, it makes you uncomfortable, not a good idea. If you don't feel comfortable now talking about it, how do you think you're going to work through it later in life? So those will create challenges. And some of the regular thing like honesty and trustworthiness sort of kind of goes with honesty. Those are like very basic. You have to see as you're dating, like, I don't know, 2 dates, 3 dates, 10 dates, you will figure it out if the person is being honest to you or not. So those are very basic, right? But what are your specific non-negotiable, right? So if you have kid, if you don't have kid, those will be very specific to you. But the finances part, even though it is universal, not many people think through it, and that ends up creating a lot of challenges. The number two reasons people get divorced is number one, finances. Number two is infidelity. So so anyway, so I just wanted to make sure that I cover all the details for you guys. So write it down, the non-negotiables. If it is not very clear, do journaling from your prior relationship. Like, that way you will find out what your non-negotiables are. What were those challenges, the big challenges, why you ended up breaking up from that person. That will give you a clue what your non-negotiable is. Sometimes it's not as straightforward. People get divorced other than those two reasons too that I just shared. So you may not right away know what your non-negotiables are. So when you start journaling, you'll be able to find it. So my friend, if you are really, really bold, share, comment below what your experience have been so far. Today is day 5. If you have applied some of it, if you have applied daily ideas that I have shared so far, great. Even if you have applied some of the actions, some of the speaking, let me know how it is going in the comment below. Don't be shy. I know some of you are following, but you're not commenting. So please do comment below because this is going to benefit you. Trust me, more you participate actively, this is going to benefit you. So with that, I'm going to finish this video. This was a long one, I know, but I hope this really helps you because this really matters how your long-term relationship would go. This is one of the most important one. So tomorrow I'm going to share another cool one for you, so don't miss out. So 12 o'clock usual, the short one I'm going to share, and at 7 p.m. you will have the 3-step based on this thinking, speaking, action. This will follow the same format that all the deep dive will follow the same format, thinking, speaking, action. So that way you don't have to think about what you need to do. So every time, whenever you follow, these are the same things you'll follow. So tomorrow what we're going to talk about is how do you identify if the person is really emotionally available or they're playing games, because that is very important, right? Sometimes people just play games. I'm not going to say boys or girls. How do you spot the person who is really serious and not playing the games? So come back tomorrow and I'm going to share 3 tips at night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy and have fun with this journey, okay? Bye.